Yesterday, the anti-apartheid activist Winnie Mandela passed on in Johannesburg at the age of 81. She was a strong woman who stood by her husband during the apartheid in South Africa. On the show today, we will celebrate her life in a unique, eclectic style. Winnie Mandela, as she's popularly called, had many, many, many great attributes that sadly people are not acknowledging until she just passed. For a long time, South Africa seemed to have forgotten about her good attributes and just focused on the things that she did wrong. And so, as much as Nima wasn't so comfortable with the fact that why are we celebrating Winnie Mandela, are we celebrating our own Nigerian heroines that have fought for us and have done so well? But we cannot but praise and support the struggle that she supported actively. She was married to Mandela for 38 years. Can you imagine 27 out of the 38 years was spent alone, and she maintained the struggle. You know, she fought for him over and over again. I for one felt that I didn't really know much about her until except the controversies. But when I heard that YK was on the show, I was like, good. YK should know a whole lot about Winnie. But you can, I think you want to start, so let me let you start.
I grew up listening to this particular Winnie Mandela, so I had an interest in her, and I found out she was the kind of woman I would love to be. A strong woman who stands her ground, who believes in something and stands for that thing. Because a lot of women are married to husbands who they don't believe in what their husbands believed in. Sure. She stayed only 11 years in her marriage. The remaining 27 years, they were apart. But she kept the flame burning in her heart and kept it burning in the society. She believed in what her husband believed. And a lot of times, when you see the clips on the autobiography going around, you will see how many times she was beaten, separated from her children, dragged to prison. But you see, the South Africans only believe in the icon that Mandela was. And that's the sadness of society. She stood, she was strong. But you know, this morning when I said, why her? We had Kudrat Abiola die like that. She was like Winnie. Exactly. And like we don't have our days that we commemorate and remember her. And, you know, I felt it was very unjust that we went all the way to do what the South Africans should be doing for their own person, living our own. But then Winnie had a personality I cannot, you know, push aside at all. She had a personality that a lot of women should have. And for her to break in her marriage showed that she was human. In her entire year of struggle, the times that she broke because she was human. She was justifiably bitter about the kind of abuses she suffered. But to downplay it is to say, okay, you know, the way Mandela even treated the issue when he came out of prison, also, you know, supported the other people. He felt he had come to the point where he should be forgiven, but she was justifiably bitter about what she suffered, being separated from her children, being beaten and incarcerated a lot of times. You know,
can I just take it from this angle? For me, she will always be a hero. Why I say that is because they have tried to discredit her with kidnapping, murder, but I have noticed that any time an African is strong, the West will not like it. Yes. So they will find everything to say, no, this African, no, he's a kidnapper, he's a human rights abuser. They will discredit. And they have done it. Look, I cannot forget when they were celebrating, when Nelson Mandela's funeral. Yes. They showed clips of Obama ignoring her. And I was like, come on, talk to the lady. Yes. You know? Acknowledge her. Acknowledge her. But because the West have this, no, it's the way I dictate it, that you must do it, they will. So it's not their fault. We don't celebrate our own. Unfortunately, when Mandela came out of jail, he was, you know, he had lost touch. Yes. A lot of that. You know, so they could feed him stories that she's been unfaithful.
And I even like this part that you were saying, that why should we celebrate her? Have we celebrated our old people right in our backyards? And I think that's another major issue, that we really do not celebrate our women heroes. Heroines like that. So it would have been an injustice to us even if we had just ignored Winnie Mandela. Let us learn to celebrate our strong women wherever they are, especially African women. And this woman, you know, there was a point she said, I think in her book, where she says she's not a product of Mandela. You know, she's the product of the struggle, what she's been through. And that's the thing. We would now like to attach women to their men and give them their story based off of that. And this is a woman that, as you mentioned, she's been beaten, she's been tortured. And she says that because of this, that it was one experience that she had where she was beaten and tortured and locked up for 5 months or so in solitary confinement. She says that thing taught her hate. You can imagine what it would have cost that woman to do. And she pushed us, I mean, without her husband's support. Even I heard that while she was still, you know, during the struggle, it wasn't like all the South Africans were in support of her. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. But she stood, she was the lone, like the strong female voice and carried this struggle. It was because of how you and I, living in Nigeria, we heard about, you know,
yes,
that's how you know, and all the tours and all the music festivals going on. It was because of her strong voice.
You see, I was discussing with my husband, and he was saying that that Jacob Zuma, Thabo Mbeki, all these people were alive during the apartheid. They were all members of the ANC. They were members of ANC, and they didn't speak up the way Winnie spoke up concerning it. The fact that we all remembered Mandela was because one woman kept screaming, my husband was held. You know, she kept screaming about it. And I feel that, yes, she's not perfect, but who is? You know, the convictions are now highlighted like that was all she stood for, which isn't all she stood for. She stood for strength. She stood for courage. She stood for her convictions that they were deserving of freedom, and she spoke up despite everything that she suffered.
On the personal level, even, can you imagine after doing all that and then you come home and then your husband says you were cheating,
and that was the reason.
It's so painful. You can imagine.
That was the reason.
If it was the other way around
for the divorce. For me, I can't even accept that. That
yes,
reason.
I want
27 years after all, but you know, I'm not saying that she should have been unfaithful.
27 years, YK.
27 years.
She was dead for like.
How old was she when she was
30?
Beautiful young
she
woman.
Went when she technically lost her husband when she was 30 years old. That's at your prime. The man came out when she was 57. So what should she be doing for the 27 years? Yes, she was struggling and she was active. But even at that...
But there is no proof. There has been no... I've not seen the person that she's supposed to have cheated with, though. Nobody has shown this is the person.
I hate that, you know, we shouldn't seem to be justifying...
cheating.
I'm just saying... Look, there were accusations. Listen, there were accusations. I need proof to actually believe that she cheated on him.
And I think the issue of the abuse of the young man that, you know, that happened at the time was one of the strong reasons her husband said, you know, felt that she had gone out of the struggle. She had taken it personal. But I believe that if she did not take it personal, who would have united all the aggrieved youth who were in South Africa at the time, who were struggling? She was the middle point. Everybody, you know, that was the gathering point. She gathered all of them. And,
rallying point.
Rallying point, yes. She rallied all of them, and they had a strong force. That's why the ANC today is still ANC. It would have died if it was...
If nobody was speaking up for them and speaking up for the party.
Like that. And, you know...
We have a call.
Okay. Basically, I wanted to add this. You know, while we give... Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so while we give our, you know, kind of like our respect to people like Winnie, etc., we need to also understand and appreciate that there are so many people, women and men, young and old, basically in the Pan-African movement globally, who continue to struggle for equality, continue to struggle for non-exploitative relationship with the imperial powers, etc. And I think we should always remember to comment and to regard those who we don't even know who continue the struggle for Africa people's liberation. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, one of the things that we, and he mentioned it now, people that are fighting against the unequal relationship between Africa and the Western developed countries, which was one of the issues that they had with Winnie, that after Mandela was released, she didn't take the approach of let's just forgive, which was what Mandela came out and was like, let's just forgive, let us all come together, we're a colorful nation, we're a rainbow nation, we are all one, which is good. But she felt that the black people, the black race, the South Africans themselves deserved more from the white that had ruled for during the apartheid period, and she was fighting for that. That didn't sit well Of course, because the conception is that you should forgive and let go. You should forgive and let go. But there's a process of healing that I didn't think they let her go through comprehensively.
You know what? See, for me, I want to see, like, they fought this, Mandela and Winnie fought this thing differently. Mandela was on the inside, away from, of course, his freedom was taken away from him, and we would not take away the sacrifice that he did for his people. But to live it every day, to be bastardized, to be insulted, to watch people being, you know, killed and tortured every day. Of course, you're coming from a different place than Mandela is coming from.
Isolation of 27 years.
So you're not seeing it. It's not your face daily.
That's what I'm saying. The 27 years that he spent, he lost touch with reality. Yes. So when he came out, he was just, if they lock me, if they lock me for 5 years, I'll sing a different. Why am I saying 5 years?
We have a call.
1 year. I will start singing.
Our last call for this segment. Ade, welcome to the show. You're calling all the way from London. Sorry I kept you waiting.
Hello. Hello.
We can hear you.
Thank you, Jenny, for the conversation, for what you said. I was looking for you for the license that you gave us. Yes. Well, you know, one thing I'm just praying for is God to let us be able to appreciate ourselves, especially the black race. You know, this woman has done a lot.
Can you hear?
Oh, I think we lost the call.
Can we take some tweets?
Can I take some tweets? She's still there.
No, please. We need to go.
Without the strength of character of Winnie Mandela, South Africa may not have put right its biggest wrong of the 20th century. And she says, Winnie was a leader who made a regrettable mistake, just like most of us do. She was a wife who got a divorce, just like some of us do. She was a mortal like all of us. Let us not diminish her greatness or dim her accomplishments.
Mayor Will says, Winnie Mandela is a hero and she has a unique personality that differentiates her from other women. I think African women should learn from her.
Atara Femi says, Winnie Mandela is a woman every Nigerian lady should emulate, and not some Kim Kardashian, etc., that only turn Nigerian ladies to slay queens.
That's all we can take on the show
fact,
today.
we have
no
yes,
chill.
very good. I think that we should focus on these heroines, these people that stood for us, the Kudirat Abiola, the Winnie Mandela, people that have late Awolowo's wife also. We must commemorate these people and keep on praising them.
Our Obieze people who stand strongly for the things that, you know, are important.
Yes, we must applaud them. Next, we commemorate the World Autism Day, which was yesterday. We'll talk more about it after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. It was really a touching show. But moving on, every year we commemorate World Autism Day, and this year is no difference. Today, our guest will enlighten us on what autism is all about. Joining us today is a junior autism specialist, a child nutritionist, Funsho Adebayo Dorcas. This is a major shift from our discussion on Winnie Mandela and moving on to autism. But before you break down what autism is all about, linking it to the strength of a woman, I've seen the struggle women go through, especially women, and I must give that kudos to women because they're the ones that nurture these children that have autism. So one, we applaud women out there that are dealing and raising children and having to deal with autism in their child. God will be with them and give them the strength. Break down your experience and what autism itself is about.
Thank you very much. And I want to say that autism is a complex disorder that affects a child, especially the early years. The symptoms are always there. That's why we always encourage that mothers should take cognizance of their children's developmental milestones. Yesterday was World Autism Awareness Day. We went out into the streets of Ojota. we went there to create awareness because that is what we do. And we discovered that a lot of people don't even know what it is. Yes, and especially the children's developmental milestone is very important because that is what is going to be like a measurement for you as a mother to know if your
child...
child...
what are those milestones you watch out for?
Yes, like from 1 to 6 months, you should be able to say, oh, your child can roll. And your child can...
1 month to 6 months?
Yes,
okay.
1 month to 6 months can roll a bit. Then by 7 months to 9, your child should be able to hear you, giggle. But by the time you talk to the child, you know, you're just playing with the child is not talking, but you can see some form of non-verbal communication. The child is smiling at you, responsive, you know, and your child is not stiff, you know. Yes, there are some children that are very stiff. You should watch out for those signs. And also, you should watch out for signs by the time the child is 2, 3, and your child likes to play on its own, that's what we call social impairment. You want to watch out for that. You want to watch out for non-verbal communication. If the child is deficient in non-verbal communication, like I'm talking to you now, you are looking at me, you are communicating in a way, though you are not talking, but you are communicating with me. Some children cannot do that. Some similarly, you think they are even deaf because they don't even respond to the names.
Response will be because some children, having raised toddlers, I've seen a lot of toddlers, some children have a style to them. And you would generally want to group them if we are not careful.
Yes. Some
children, when you talk to them, they just don't respond. But when you try to give them something, they either shake their head or nod. So that's the non-verbal communication.
Like, so, okay, like the child that is shaking his head or her head is communicating with you. You understand what I'm saying? But if you have a child and you're saying Tola at 1 and Tola is not responding to you immediately, you say Tola once, Tola twice, Tola 3 times, and Tola is not responding and is just folding his arms like this. You want to watch out for such a thing. And you go to the park, usually children, sometimes you say they are shy, but you want to differentiate between shyness in a child and social impairment. That is one major thing.
So autism, it's exactly what? Because you've explained the symptoms, some of the symptoms that we should, parents should look out for when they see their children in the early years.
Yes.
But you haven't really explained what autism leads to long term. What exactly?
Please, before you do that, let me ask a question maybe to help, because I've heard where they say autism is not a disability. It's you know, something about maybe
it's a disorder.
It's not a disability. I think it's the word.
It's a disorder.
It's actually a disability.
Yes, it's not a disability.
Yes.
It's a disorder. It's actually, autism is actually a complex developmental disorder that affects the neurons of the brain of a child.
So they don't get the right signals at the right time.
Exactly. There's something called glial cells that protects the neurons of the brain. And you know that we always depend on the neurons of the brain to send signals to our body. It's the brain that that like the machine of the body, just like what you have, like the engine of the car. Okay, so when something is wrong with the brain, definitely anything can happen. It can affect the speech.
So it doesn't have a direct symptom. It plays out in different ways in different children.
That is why we say it's a spectrum. That's why we call it, autism behaviors. Spectrum disorder. Like if you have 10 autistic children in this room, they will have something in common and they will have definitely different things.
Display of
yes, but there are some things that are very common to them. That's the social impairment, number 1. Then an inability to communicate verbally or non-verbally, and they have repetitive behaviors, and they also have stereotyped behaviors. I like to explain that. Repetitive behavior can be spinning, just standing and spinning. It could be flapping of hands. It could be playing out with your hands. I will explain some things. I'm sure by the time I explain some things, you will look back and take yourself down memory lane, and you must have come across a few kids while growing up. You know,
we will just be doing some
You just know that this guy is odd. Even some of them even grow up to be
And you mentioned that's true, but do some of them grow out of it though?
Yes.
Because it seems like some start off that way, and then as they grow older, they seem to get out of it. And I've heard of some who didn't start.
Okay, let me start by answering.
I think I know many.
Yes, you are very right. Let me tell you, there's something we call...
autistic adults.
Yes, there's something we call DSM. That's the diagnosis sheet that we use to determine if someone actually has autism or has PDD or has Rett disorder. That's pervasive developmental disorder. There are different types. So you want to know, you just know that this child is not developing well. You know, as parents, especially if you have had one child, then another one that is seemingly different. You want to compare. But usually when you take these kids to the clinic or to the hospital, they tell you, oh, some kids develop speech more than the other. Yeah. So, but one thing you should watch out for is that social impairment. Now, once you have gone for your evaluation and you don't do anything, you asked me a question, you were saying a disorder or a disability.
Yes.
It's a disorder that can be helped if there's early intervention, and it will not be a disability. But if you don't do anything, believe you me, the truth is it will become a disability. It will become, and also considering the level, because we have low functioning autism, we have high functioning autism. There are some children, as you said, who will just snap out of it. We call it childhood autism. You know, they'll just snap out of it. And some will just go and somehow they will learn. There's something we call ABA, that's Applied Behavior Analysis. And I always say this, that the discipline in Africa, the way we train our children is not like that of the West. So it's basically ABA. When a child does well, you praise the child, oh, call me, well done, blah, blah, blah. And when a child is naughty, you spank the child, okay? So it's ABA. ABA simply means you prompt the child to do something that is good. You praise the child. You give the child a reward. And if the child does something that is...
You spank it out.
No, I'm not saying spank it. You understand? So I think it's one of the things that really helped, because you might not know, but it's therapy for the child. You might not even know that you're applying ABA, but it's therapy for the child.
What's ABA again?
Applied Behavioral Analysis is the only treatment. When we say treatment, it's therapy that you know,
works for autism.
Okay, so you're saying our regular African way of bringing up children is a therapy
kind of
is a style of therapy.
It's nice to know that that's something about us is good. Yes.
Excuse me, that is not in itself ABA, you know, but that's a concept of of ABA.
That is, so you're saying that normal times in Africa, if you have an autistic child, by the time the child is 15, 18, they would have
cautioned the child out of it.
Either beaten him out of it
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Smacked him out of it.
Don't get me wrong, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the concept of ABA is just like
the way we raise.
If a child is
but before we'll soon go on a break, and I want you to just end this break session on a note. Is it curable? Like, is it treatable over time? Do we have adults that have autism and can function properly within the society?
Because there's this particular adult I want to talk about.
Let her talk about it.
No, we don't have time.
Okay. I will say that autism is treatable. I will not say that. And I will not say that it's not treatable. It depends on what is high functioning or if it's low functioning, and what are the treatments.
You need a specialty.
Yes.
We'll come back and talk more about the treatment and the options for managing autism. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
It's been a very enlightening show. Even during the break, we were just learning a lot from Dorcas.
Yes.
Now, I worry, like many mothers, that, hey, let me check my child. Because it's true. As I say that, I'm just flipping through my mind that, did Samuel? Because like, maybe just, you know, and everybody goes through that. But there are, and I've read somewhere, that super intelligent children have been diagnosed early with autism and they turn out well.
Yes.
So can you give us examples of notable people that have autism and how a mother or a parent now can respond to autism and avert crisis in future?
Thank you very much. I am an artist by profession.
Yeah, my senior colleague.
Yeah. And I know a few great artists like Madikizela-Mandela. And when you talk about art, okay, you cannot but talk about Madikizela-Mandela. He was seemingly autistic. He had Asperger's syndrome. That's a high-functioning form of autism, which I'm going to talk about also because by the time we talk, I'm sure you have quite a number of, So autism is not a disability. It might be a disorder, because these people, they have their own talents.
And they require special...
Yes, and they also require special needs, treatment, as we say, therapy, which I always recommend ABA for them. And what that does is, there is always an assessment. So in the assessment, they will tell you, oh, what are the strengths of this person? Will this person be good as an athlete? Will this child be good as an artist or a musician? You want to find out what are the strengths. So you develop the child in that line. And what are the lapses that the child has? Is it communication or is it social impairment? You want to create a plan. So in ABA, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of treatment.
For everybody.
Yes.
Okay, Doctor, sorry. Do we have in Nigeria, do we have like a school? Do we have a support group for parents and for children that have that autistic to go and be and learn?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thanks for asking that question. Yes, we do have, but it's really, really expensive. It's really expensive, and that is why I'm using this opportunity to cry out and to plead to the government, well-meaning Nigerians.
Because these children are brilliant. If they really, just get the right...
Because by the time you are paying like over $500,000 for a 2-year-old child, how many Nigerians can actually afford that? And by the time your therapist for your child is charging you $100 per hour, you know, for your child, how many people? We went out on the streets yesterday and I cried because there were so many people. And another thing is, there are always cross disorders. Like when a child has autism, might have one other thing with it, like ADHD. ADHD is another thing.
Yes. Abbreviations.
Let's talk the real
people like us.
Nigerians would like to see.
Yeah.
Mothers who have to care for this kind of children.
Afford
Most times in our society, you hardly find the men do it. They are rare, the exceptional men who do, but it has to be the mother's problem. You have to learn how to love your own.
Yes.
What's your experience like? How are Nigerian mothers coping with these issues?
That's a very good question. Yesterday we had a webinar training, free webinar training for 100 mothers, parents generally, yesterday to celebrate the World Autism Day. And what the topic was raising different. You see, if you are raising a regular child, it's a lot of work. By the time you are raising a different child, a special needs child, it's like raising 7 babies at the same time. So the first thing I said at the training was, the first and the most important thing, therapy that you can give to that child, is making sure that you are okay. The most important person in raising a different child is the mother. Because if she's not psychologically and mentally and physically okay, believe you me, anything can happen to that child. A few weeks back, I got a call from one of our therapists who told me that one of these women that I used to know committed suicide.
Oh my goodness.
She has 2 autistic sons.
Oh gosh.
It's not easy.
It's not.
We must learn
to support women.
She wasn't.
We must support
ourselves.
Yes. We must support women that go through this.
Yes.
I'm reading a book on discussion, and I've learned, on help support, that don't think that because you're seeing a child that has autism, you ignoring it is a way of support. Talk about it, because that woman probably, if she had people talking to her and saying that we would be here for you, we're here to help you. If you have a neighbor that is going through, that has special needs children, I have a neighbor and I don't talk about it. I really, I'm feeling bad about it. And I know I have a neighbor that has a special needs child, but I ignore it thinking I'll just pray for her. But I think we need to talk about it.
The thing is, when you call her to talk about it, it's therapy for her. Because she feels a connection. She feels, there's one person that really sees I have an issue. Because you see, for a special needs child, the problem is not even money. Sometimes
it's attention,
the parents is the love, it's the connection.
Okay, I'm happy that
we have a phone call. We have BC from Ikorodu.
Please, I just want to plead that our government should try as much as possible to assist these children and their parents. In countries where life is valued, children are valued.
No matter
the government gives support to their parents. They create a native environment for the parents. Even the houses where these parents live, for those who want to take care of their children by themselves, they make it conducive for these children. I don't know when we get there, but I pray government should do something to assist these children.
Thank you, BC.
The children, because I happen to have one around me, and I know what government is doing in the country where he is to support this boy. In fact, we even thought he would not be able to walk.
Where are you calling from?
All of a sudden, I'm calling from Ikorodu.
Okay.
All of a sudden, he started walking. We thought he would not be able to hear. But one day, somebody said, Richie, take this paper, put it in the bin. And he took it and put it in the bin.
So therapy works.
Exactly. Parents need to do something.
Thank you, BC.
Like
Let's get back so that we
Above all
can.
is love. Above all is love.
But
So you have a
government
person.
has a lot to do.
Thank you, BC. Thank you, BC. We would hold the government accountable, but we also have our own parts to play in
I wanted to
supporting.
just bring up what Bill Gates said. Bill Gates says we put so much money in infrastructure, but we don't invest in the people.
In
These
ourselves.
are the kind of things that the government, now they need to start to invest in the people, because I think Nigerians are very brilliant people. So there is, with the government investing in us, the way we would
We'll
excel.
change the environment. The building you are building, the people are the ones who destroy it. You spend money building all these monumental buildings. The human beings that you elected, they will destroy it.
And especially coming back to autistic kids, you said that these are children that usually
Super
have... These are
brilliant.
super intelligent. You can imagine we're just letting intelligence just waste away because we're not investing in them.
Kemi Olulonyo, she says her oldest 31-year-old is autistic. Nobody can really know what I went through. And he's now a security expert in America.
Wow.
He's high functioning.
High functioning, yes.
You see, so
that's a
she's
different type of...
posted his article and everything. So she's trying to say, look, because she grew up in Canada, he has excelled.
Exactly. Who knows what he would have turned up here?
Yesterday we went on the autism awareness.
We're almost out of time.
Yes, and
so
we're talking to a woman. I said, what is autism? And she said, the imbecile. Yes, that was what she called them.
Yeah, but you know, we don't have words for that.
We need education.
Yes.
We need people to be educated.
People need to be aware. People need to be educated. And people need to watch their children's nutrition. It's very important. Even from the fetus. You know, from
while you're pregnant.
While you are pregnant. And that's one of the things we are doing with the clinics.
Is it preventable?
What should you eat?
You should eat more fruits and vegetables. Keep
They
your
say it all the
children
time.
away from all this. I don't want to be
Sweets and
mentioning brands, okay? All this, anything that has flour.
You will tell us so.
Noodles. Noodles is not a brand name.
Noodles and all these canned
Sugar.
drinks, sugar, and all that. You know, yes, you want to give your children, and even as a pregnant woman, you want to eat foods that are rich in omega-3, rich in zinc.
So those who prevent it too.
Yes, it's
So that's from
Thank you so
vegetables
much. We've
and
learned a
fruits.
lot.
Thank you so much.
We're going to get your contact and we'll tweet it. So those that want to reach out to you to be on Twitter and on Facebook, for those that need the support. However, one thing I've learned is that if you have someone around you that has special needs, kindly ask questions, reach out, give support. It is therapy for that person too. Thank you, Funsho Adebayo Dorcas, for coming. Thank you, ladies. The show was good. To be part of our live audience tomorrow, please come early. Be here before 8 a.m. Dress smart. We can only take 30 people. So we'll hope you enjoyed the show today. See you tomorrow. Bye.